All right. Let's. Hello to the 34th episode of the IoT Happy Hour. Today we would like to celebrate that last week, if you missed it, we made the release party number 2. We beat the record. We made only the release party in 7 hours and a half, I guess. Actually 7, because we were chatting the last 30 minutes. But we released one really cool feature that we are going to talk today and probably next episodes, that it's a balenaHub. And this is why my colleagues are here today with me to talk about balenaHub, how to balenify or hubify your applications, your IoT Edge applications, and do it live, actually. Kyle, who's a new on the stream, will do this. We'll pray to the gods and hubify live. And if we have time, we will have like Sean joining us at the end of the IoT Happy Hour to make all of these new applications that submitted at the balenaHub to be coming to the marketplace. But yeah, before explaining more and apologizing because we are a couple of minutes late because we were playing with something that we have on our desk.
Wait a minute.
Introduce.
Yeah, we need to do introductions first.
Yeah. So please, Alan.
Hey, everyone. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm one of the hardware hackers here at Balena, based outside of Philadelphia.
Woohoo! I'm John Tonello, technical marketing lead here at Balena. And since we're talking about locations, I'm outside of Syracuse, New York. And I'm perfecting my Brady Bunch, Windows. Right. So
yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. I'll go next. I am David Tischler. I am developer advocate at Balena, and I see we all have different shirts on today. We normally match, but I don't know what's going on here. Got my Open Balena shirt on today. And I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona. So cactus and giant attack pigs. Javelinas, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle. I'm newer to the team. I'm on the OS team as an embedded Linux engineer, so I work on the operating system we all know and love. And I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, welcome to Balena, by the way.
Yeah, welcome, Kyle. Glad to have you. I'm a wannabe OS hacker, so I end up absolutely destroying Yocto recipes and saying prayers to demo gods to see if they work on all kinds of random devices.
If you have Yocto problems, I'm your guy.
Really? Oh, this is music to my ears. I got lots of Yocto problems. Lots and lots of them.
You can hear him screaming from here.
Yeah. I've got piles of hardware that I'd like to enable. So we'll chat later.
I didn't know that you were a wannabe Balena OS hacker.
Mm-hmm. I'm an OS hacker more than a hardware hacker, but I don't do it well. So it's good to have an expert standing by to assist.
But it's good that you mix hardware and OS together. So
yeah. Awesome. Alan's buzzer's going already as well. Somebody's watching.
It's incredible how people store these on the bookmarks and still remember 34 episodes later.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we have a lot of things on our desks. So let's jump into what's on your desk. Give me a sec.
What's on your desk?
Virtual Chris today.
Yeah. Chris couldn't join today, by the way. So
no, he's on holidays. Yeah, good for him. That's all right.
Taking a much-deserved break.
Exactly.
Yeah, after he built this balenaHub thing that we're going to talk about today, he probably does deserve a few days off. So we'll go virtual Chris today. All good.
So maybe because Kyle is his first IoT Happy Hour, maybe let's start with you. What's on your desk, Kyle?
I don't have anything that amazing today, but I will show you what I do have. To start with, I have my brand new Balena Fin, because some people on the chat from previous episodes might know that I completely destroyed my last one by ripping the micro USB port off of it. So
That's nothing.
without any way to flash it or format it, unless I got really good at soldering, I had to request a new one. So it's nice to have a new piece of hardware in the house.
This sounds familiar. I've also ripped things off of a fin.
Wait a sec.
Get my screen bigger, Mark. There's a thing in the middle there that should have been eMMC, and that's going to pose a challenge when trying to solder that back on. So yeah, I know about destroying a fin. I'm familiar.
Well, yeah, I heard I wasn't the only one who had trouble, A, with destroying hardware, and B, with soldering, so I'm glad to be part of that group.
No, welcome to the team. Tomas is the true expert. Tomas is the residence hardware killer, but we're close seconds.
I think in the same week, I destroyed a fin and a Jetson Nano, which really hurt because that was a personal device. So that was out of pocket.
Yeah, that's
Speaking of my Nano, I have one of my Wisecam V2s here. I don't know if you guys have talked about these cameras on the show before, but they are well known for the price point. These are simple IP cameras. They're just micro USB powered and Wi-Fi, but they are extremely popular in the CCTV and self-hosted spaces for being like $25 or $35, depending where you are, like US. And that price point for a monitoring camera service, whether or not you use their cloud dependencies, is a really nice entry point. And I'm actually planning on putting custom firmware on this, so it doesn't need to run the firmware that they provide. There's multiple repos with ways to run whatever you want on there, and run. If all you need is an RTSP server, you don't need you don't need all the bells and whistles that come with cloud storage.
Interesting. So no,
I want one of those.
Yeah, I was not familiar with that. I've heard of them, but never looked into it. So I just dropped the link into chat for folks to check out.
1999.
I might pick one of those up. That's pretty reasonable.
In Europe, you cannot get for that price the Waze cameras. I don't think it's that popular here.
Well,
and they do offer a custom firmware as well from Wise. They actually offer a firmware that provides an RTSP stream for people who are running like ZoneMinder, Shinobi, or other home monitoring systems. They can work with those using official firmware.
Wow.
Alan's already got 6 of them in the cart. Alan's hitting checkout now.
Absolutely.
Well, particularly now, you can't find USB cameras, so something like this, would be a nice alternative.
Yeah.
Granted, a little more involved, but I was looking for this very thing, like an open standards IP camera that I could move around. Of course, add to my Tucker cam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good looking product. I may have to pick one of those up as a holiday gift to myself.
That's a good segue,
David. Why do you say that?
I was going to talk about the Hardware Hacker holiday gift list that we put together.
Go ahead. I'll grab the link and I'll drop it in chat and put it up on.
A couple of IoT Happy Hours ago, we talked about holiday gift buying for the hacker in your life or the technically minded. So I asked my Balena colleagues to submit some ideas. And we got a very interesting mix of stuff from gear, tools, books. Of course, a Raspberry Pi is on there. But we have like the Inky screens on there, which I think we showed the Inky Shot project on a previous show.
Yeah, that's when Kat joined us and made us 5 minutes late because it was tea time in London.
I don't know how you remember them all. And some interesting tools, particularly, Chris showed off his wireless soldering iron, which is a very fine, detailed tool. And of course, his power screwdriver for tiny screws, basically, but with a video screen. I shouldn't say video. It has a screen that shows the screw moving in the direction that it's going, and it actually has torque settings on it as well. Still want one of those. I gotta put I gotta tell my wife about that. Yeah, this thing is.
There it is.
I do
Well,
too
IoT.
much of that, but it's just cool. It just looks good. And some interesting books are on that list as well. And I still want to pick up of course, you scrolled off the page, David.
Oh,
just
sorry.
Scroll down to the textbook. One more, a couple more. The Art of Electronics, which is basically a textbook, but you can pick this thing up at places like abebooks.com, which is a used book retailer, and sort of everything about electronics. So, if we talk about soldering, how do those resistors work? What is some of the functions and some of the physics, although it's not heavy on that stuff. But just some interesting kinds of things. And of course, we mentioned magazines that you can give. One of my favorites is New Scientist, but there's the Pi Mag, or Magpie, and others. Some of them make good stocking stuffers. Some are like those, that soldering iron, I think, is like €100. So they're full-on gifts. But this blog post is on our the balena.io website. Check it out.
Yeah, very cool.
Absolutely.
So these are things I don't have on my desk, but I wish I did. Point out in that too, it's like you can give these, or you can put them on the list of things that you want to receive. So
Exactly.
it goes both ways.
That blog post is gold. So, yeah. David, I don't know if you had something on your table that you didn't show or not.
You know what? My camera's not hooked up. Hold on. Let me get blurry cam and see if I can get it installed. If I forgot that this was not hooked up, actually. So if you guys want to go. Yeah, go to Alan first, and I'll see if I can get mine. Mine is not as impressive as
I got a whisper that Alan has tons of things on his table. So
yeah, I did not want to go after Alan.
No, I don't want to go after it. You know what? Forget it. I'm not showing my desk. It doesn't matter. Alan's is...
All right. Well, let's start with just the kind of mundane but interesting. I picked up one of these little terminal strips. These are great for when you're working on projects and you need to tie a bunch of wires together, particularly like ground or power. So I know this isn't that thrilling, but it's a really helpful thing. This would be a good stocking stuffer for any of the electronic gadgeteers in your life. This is another item that we have here. Now this gives your desktop computer an SPI or I2C bus. Normally a desktop or a laptop doesn't have that. I haven't soldered the pins in here, but it connects via USB, and then it exposes those pins. So if you wanted to test something like a display or some other little device that works that way, and you didn't feel like getting out your Raspberry Pi or whatever, you could just connect through this and start programming, and then maybe later transfer that code to the device that natively supports that. So that was number 2. And then number 3, this might be another one for your holiday gift guide, John, but this would be for the more technical minded.
Is that a Game Boy?
Yeah,
I wish. It's a component tester. So if you frequently use transistors, resistors, capacitors, this is something that allows you to test those components. And I will show you here. Let's see. I'm going to put a capacitor in this device, and then you just kind of strap it in like that and turn it. Push the button, and it tests your. Let's get that in there. Tests it.
I see it.
And there you go. It knows exactly what I put in there. You don't have to tell it.
What on earth? What kind of magic is that?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
These have become somewhat generic, so you can find these, various versions of these all over, like Amazon and other places. They run about $20 to $30, and they all pretty much do the same thing. But they're very useful.
Save you a lot of hassle, but nothing worse than soldering in a dead component.
Yeah, and also if you work with transistors a lot, like, here we go, transistor. You can't see that, but sometimes you don't know. You have a drawer full of these. You're not sure whether it's PNP or NPN.
Right.
This will tell you exactly what kind of transistor you have, and the different voltages, and for diodes, forward voltage, and all that. So
That's
it's pretty
Very
neat.
handy.
Nice screen on it too.
Yeah, the screen is nice. The fact that
And
it's
I like the
colored.
button to switch on and off. No.
Yeah, plus it's rechargeable. So,
Oh.
you just plug it in through USB and it charges itself. So you don't need more batteries.
Wow.
And
Nice.
And yeah, the screen's nice. They make ones with a monochrome screen. Those are a little cheaper, but so yeah, that's a nice stocking stuffer. And then I have another device here. Should I move to this now? Is this part of what's on your
hold
desk?
on a minute. That thing is incredible. So wait for me to go first, because mine is not a big deal. So I don't want to go after that thing. So hold on. So let's just switch camera. It's not actually, it's not anything that we haven't seen before, but I have a demo next week for a talk that I'm doing on fleet management. So, Balena Cloud. And I had to build out a fleet of devices. Now, this entire fleet is right here on my desk. So that's, it's not a distributed one. But I actually have Balena Sense running on all four. Wait, how many are powered on at the moment? 5? No, 3 powered on at the moment devices. So anyways, the point is my desk is actually covered in Balena Sense devices. 2 BME 680s, 2 Sense hats. This one over here is a Pi 4. That's a Pi 4, Pi 3B, 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 3A. So anyways, point being, multiple Balena Sense devices. So, okay, with that out of the way, now Alan can go.
Well, let me show what I have on my desk first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have something too? Okay.
Yeah, something that I have these actually.
Ooh,
I don't have all the. Do you know what is this?
That's a telephone jack. You're going to make some calls? You're going to fax? You're going to send a fax?
analog modem.
Oh, come on, just read.
It's a weather station.
It's a web.
Exactly. So actually, they have these. Yeah, this is RJ20 something, I guess. Like the telephone jacks, yeah, but for connecting rain and wind. And this works with the photon, but it's a Wi-Fi enabled particle. I don't know if it's old or not, but I wanted to connect it with a LoRa node. So to send this information from the weather station, with the LoRa. So I'm hacking
cool.
from the mountains this photon device from a SparkFun to enable it with LoRa technology and not just with the particle one.
Are the RJ jacks for like a universal connector for the actual, like the rain gauge or the wind? It's not called a wind gauge, but do those devices plug in?
I don't have here the weather station, but yeah, so it's connected through the through these connectors. I don't know how they called the RJ something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there is a standard or not, but what they have here, it's an I2C. Like this is the I2C port or the wired port. So I will try to get the signal from here or from the I2C. I'm not sure what it's going to work. I still need to do the research before my weekend and get the signal into the health tech node to put it on LoRa.
Cool. Anemometer. Thank you, Gary.
Gary's got it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's what's
Oh. We need a drum roll sound effect. There's so much, lead in, and now you can only disappoint. You can only disappoint us.
I don't want to disappoint folks, but I'll show what This is a just a little project that I'm working on. It looks like a cute little 3D printer, but that's not what it is.
You know, it looked like a small TV console from yesterday.
Yeah, it's a miniature TV.
Looks like a Geiger counter. No,
See,
No,
right?
not
Maybe
a Geiger counter.
we have people guess what this
Edge
is.
Pro.
Yeah, Edge Pro. Anybody else know? I think it's a.
This is illuminated. You see.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
So it's a night light.
It could be. It could be a very fancy, over-engineered nightlight. Sure.
Yeah. Can you turn it on and off by clapping, like with the clapper? Remember that thing?
You have
That
that in
hasn't
the
been
US.
implemented yet.
Is that very popular in the US?
The clap thing?
Yeah, the clapping light.
20
Clapper.
years ago, 30
Yeah.
years ago.
It was at one time. But no, let me explain what this is. Something with lasers. No, not quite. Tiny,
document
kind of.
screen
That's the closest that we've
for
seen.
Post-its.
It could be used for that actually. But all right, let me explain really quickly here. Overhead projector scanner. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with this. It's very old-fashioned now, but this is how people used to take photographs before digital cameras. They used film. And that produced a negative. So sometimes these get separated and you just, like I do, have a box of these and you don't have the images anymore, or the photographs. So when you try to look at these, they're inverted. That's right, this is a 35 millimeter negative. So sometimes you're like, well, how can I look at this? So I took balenaCam, slightly modified it. We have a downward facing Raspberry Pi camera. And then I built this little light box area. You can see there's a circuit board down there. It's really just some LEDs and resistors, some white LEDs. And then I found...
But like normal white LEDs or
normal white LEDs just connected to the 3 volt of the Raspberry Pi up here. It's just a Pi 3B plus. And then I needed something frosted. I needed a background. So this is just some packing piece of plastic from some device that I had, not really cut very well. Chris would not be happy with it.
Yeah, Chris better not be watching. Oh, he better not be watching.
It's this is
jagged
this is just this is just a prototype. I mean, I've already found improvements for this, so eventually I will make a nicer version. This one's pretty poorly cobbled together. You can see it's already splitting in the edges. But
I like that you work a lot with boot. So
yeah, it's really
Looks
cool
good from a distance.
Yeah.
So
and is that just some scrap MDF or what?
This was I bought some piece of furniture a year ago, and it had this great packing material. It's some kind of cross between like plastic, wood, and plywood,
fake wood,
cardboard.
Oh, Chris definitely better not be watching.
But it's perfect for just throwing something together. Except I didn't realize that it splits badly if you try to do this. But
quick prototyping. That's awesome.
It's fine. I used some wood glue, and this is just some kind of what do you call it, foam board, something like that. But it needed to be white all on the inside. So what we can do, since this is balenaCam, it streams the the video feed.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then, like I said, slightly modified to show negative. So let me, I inverted it negative. So let's actually throw a negative on here. And then we've streamed it across the country to David. And
well, anyway, I mean,
let me share the URL.
Grab the URL from it.
So
well, I'm taking a guess. So I'm going to start guessing vehicles, and I think that's a late 80s or very early 90s 2-door Honda Accord that we might be looking at. That's a sick ride. That's right, JR. He knows. All right, next up. Hold on. Next coming up on camera. Oh, missed.
Sorry.
Oh, that's a Toyota. I want to say that might be a Camry.
Okay. Your guess is as good as mine on these. I don't even
Are you
know.
a car expert, David? Or
Cadillac.
That's a Cadillac. I don't know the exact model, though.
Let's
I don't
do
know
one
what they
more.
called them back then. That couldn't be an Eldorado, I don't think. That'd be a two-door. This is a Lexus ES300 or 400, I'm guessing.
I think you're right.
86 cam. Yeah, I shot JR's.
I have to ask.
Yeah, caddy.
Were you looking to steal a car from this particular lot?
Yeah. Why are you scoping that? Why do you have 35 millimeter film of?
Yeah,
it's a very long story, but
Yeah.
let's say that I have a roll of film from a bunch of car lots. They were all taken in the summer of 1995. Those
95. So those vehicles were probably a couple years used. Okay,
Yes,
so my
they were all
time frame is used. Yep.
And
I shot JR's from Detroit, so he knows his vehicles.
So
you have more
also
coming? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can also do black and white, obviously. It will reverse black and white.
Here's a Ram van? No, that's a Chevy.
Lot.
That could be a Chevy van.
That's a Chevy van.
That's a Chevy. Yep.
There's some great cars here. This picture was taken in 1984.
What's the third one in? That can't be a Gremlin, can it? Look at that slanted back.
Yeah, and the far left is a Gremlin.
Peugeot even. Oh yeah, the far left is a Gremlin. I see it over there. So that could be another. Well, no.
It could be a
look at the rear.
Pony.
Yeah, because look at the rear. C pillar is different. So that might be something like a Fiat or Peugeot or something imported back then.
Do one more.
Oh man,
one more picture from the 80s.
Or something with your 80s hair. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
This is going to be probably incriminating.
There we go.
That's not even you. That's somebody else.
I hate to say it, but you look a little stoned, Alan.
I do.
That's not even you. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that.
All right, that's someone.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you have it.
That's awesome.
Van. That's the 18 van. That's right. So that's a cool project. That is a super cool build. I'll turn the screen share on.
I have one more quick. It's not on my desktop.
Yeah, then we got to get to the hub.
It is on my. It is on my wall. And I'm just going to share this thing really quickly. And of course, I can't find it now. Come on.
Yeah, later people complain that we don't get into the topic.
I'm sorry.
Well, is it needed for today, or can you save it for next week?
Go ahead.
You can save it.
Save it. Yeah, save it for next week, John.
Save it.
Yeah. Next time.
All right. That's good. Now we have next week's episode already planned.
All right, so let's jump into the balenaHub. For people who miss it, last week we made a second release party, 7 hours live stream. Meanwhile, the Balena team was coding the balenaHub, which John will help us to introduce. So,
yeah,
John,
can you see that?
Yeah, we can see your screen, yeah.
I reshared it after my disappointing fail there. balenaHub extends the deploy with Balena functionality that we rolled out a couple months ago. The idea being, with one click, you can pull the contents of a so-enabled GitHub repo and deploy an application to your various devices. The balenaHub takes that to sort of a much higher scale and brings together a variety of projects and applications that were put together by Balena hardware hackers like Alan and Chris and others, but also community projects. And the process for putting your apps in the hub is pretty straightforward, and Kyle will be talking about that as well. But it's a great place to not only get some visibility, but to easily share your projects with developers anywhere. And with deployed with Balena capability, you can really almost guarantee success for your users, because everything is baked in. And you can see here, there's a couple cool features with the Balena Dash that that example in the top left, you can see in the bottom it shows which devices are supported. And in that case, it's the Fin and Intel NUC and different things. So this is searchable, provides, of course, the deploy button, and in most cases, the README takes you to the repo itself. But we're hoping
check
this.
the applications that we have, John. Maybe.
Yeah.
So
Balena Dash is in the top left. Scratch on Balena, which our hardware hacker Phil Wilson did. I think he launched this last week with his son Harry, which creates a Scratch server on a Pi 4. The ever popular Pi hole for network-wide ad blocking Minecraft server. Again, those last two were submitted by community. Basic Station, which Mark was talking about in the past episodes. Rahul's Balena Cups wasn't.
Well, that's a community.
That's a community one, but Rahul did some work on that. But you can see in here lots of different capabilities, different tools, and most importantly, you can add your own app to this. And of course, it's searchable, so you can put in things like that. When you click on one of these, read more, here's the dash. It takes you, I don't know if you can still see that, if it took me off to a different window.
No, we don't see that.
Sorry about that. And the deploy with Balena will open up a new window as well, take you to your Balena account, automatically preload everything you need to be successful, which is, I think, what Kyle's going to start talking about, how it really works.
Yeah,
There's also
go ahead.
The Submit Your App button here. Talks about, there's basically 4 simple steps: how to balenify your application, adding a balena.yml for environmental variables and device variables that will automatically be loaded into your application. And to submit something, email, name, your repo URL, a description, and then we'll review that, make sure it works, and be in touch with getting it live.
We'll look at automating that a little bit more in the future, but like you mentioned, about half of them are community submitted. So, if you've got projects floating around out there, by all means, get them submitted to us. And I want to, before we have Kyle dive in for a complete end-to-end walkthrough, I want to sneak one last question in that I Shot JR had, and it goes back to Alan's project. And he's asking, are the images being manipulated, like negative inverted? So just real quick, Alan, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I made a slight modification to BalenaCam. I added a device variable that allows you to, invert the colors and the brightness. So basically invert the image. It's simple, and I'll probably PR that back in when this project's ready.
I was just going to say, if that is sitting in a repo somewhere, we can get it over to I Shot JR or otherwise follow up afterwards with them. So all good. Sorry. That's for it. I think Kyle is on deck.
Yeah.
Well, just to set expectations a little bit, I'm not an expert on how the back end of the hub works, but I am going to take the community approach to how to balenify and push to the hub, because that's where I have the most experience at this point. And I do have a number of apps that aren't in the hub yet, and I'm excited to get them up there. So we'll be demonstrating that today. And it's going to start with just a bit of a walkthrough of the repo itself, and then adding the balena.yml. And we'll see if we can get Sean to help us with a live deploy if he's available.
Cool.
So I'm going to share my code screen, and I'll explain what this application is a little bit first. This is not an app that I have developed. It is maintained by a team at bookstackapp.com. Now, what this is and what I use it for is it's a personal Wikipedia, essentially, or a personal notes database. So think of like a self-hosted Evernote, for example. It's more than just like sticky notes, like a Google Keep. It's much more, you create books with pages and reference internal documentation and paste code snippets. And it's where I keep all of my personal notes, just so that I can have a copy of them locally rather than putting them on some external service like Evernote or some competitor like that. So that's Bookstack app. I've been using it for probably a year or so now, and I have it running on a Raspberry Pi 4. But I would like to get it up to balenaHub so other users can see and search for and benefit from this kind of thing, especially since I find it's pretty straightforward to deploy. And I want more people in the community to be able to try it out.
Yeah, sounds super cool. I'm not familiar with it, but sounds like something to check out.
Maybe today we can have a short demo of it at the end. We'll see how we're doing on time. Because I'd like to go over the balenifying first. So we'll skip past the README and just look at my compose file. And there's a few things in here I want to touch on because as what viewers may or may not know, there's certain restrictions to the type of Docker compose file that we can support by Balena Cloud. And that is documented, what compose variables we support, but it is limited to version 2.1 at time of recording. And there's things that you might be doing in an existing like Ubuntu Docker setup that you wouldn't be able to do here. And that's things like mounting host volumes and a few details like that. So right off the bat, I'm creating 3 volumes for storing our data. And these are going to be container volumes, but they're going to be managed entirely by Balena OS. And they do not map to anything on the host because the host is typically read-only. We want this data to persist and not be lost on reboots, but it is going to be in a virtual Docker volume that is managed by the supervisor. So I've made one for the bookstack data, one for our database, and this one's a bit more optional, but I also have a Duplicati backup service running on this stack because if I, say, break my device or my SD card gets worn out and my data gets corrupted or my database gets broken in some way, I don't want to lose a few years worth of personal notes and reference material. So I add Duplicati to a lot of my stacks to make sure that they are backed up to some kind of cloud service in an encrypted format, and that allows me to either restore from a complete data loss or even just roll back to a previous snapshot. It's just something that I try to add where it makes sense to do so.
So a question about Duplicati. So where does the data get stored?
Duplicati supports quite a few backends. That's kind of why I like it. It does support local storage, so I could put the backups into a local volume, but that doesn't help the case where the SD card gets corrupted. So Duplicati has a long list of cloud storage providers. Like in my case, I'm using Google Drive, but it's anything from like Amazon S3 to say you're using Dropbox to say Nextcloud or any kind of cloud storage. There's a very good chance that Duplicati has a backend that supports that, where you put in your credentials and you put in an encryption key, so all of your data it can't just be unpacked by anybody. It has to be encrypted before it gets uploaded. And it does incremental snapshots as well. So it's not a full backup every time. It's actually usually a diff from the previous backup, and they build on each other. But it's very configurable. It has a nice web UI. I don't walk through on my README how to use Duplicati in full because it's better to just go look at their documentation. And it does have so many features. But it is something that I find very helpful because I know SD cards cannot be trusted to last forever.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Yeah, I didn't know that service. So maybe that deserves another IoT Happy Hour episode.
Maybe. I just use it as an add-on. Like a lot of my stacks have this, but it running as a standalone is not super helpful. It's best when added to some other crucial service that you run in production where you don't want to lose your data.
Absolutely.
It's really handy. The web UI is, I think, my favorite part of it because there's a lot of backup utilities, but having a web UI where you can choose what to back up and where to back it up to and on what schedule is very, very handy. So that just runs in port 8200, but I'm going to gloss over the rest of Duplicati because it is not what we're here to talk about. Here's the main service here. This is the Bookstack application. I am using this public Linux server maintained Docker image as a base. I do have a slight modification to it, which I will show you in a second, but I didn't build this image from scratch. It is being maintained by Linux server. These guys make a lot of Docker images. They're very reliable. They're very stable. They get a lot of updates. I trust their stuff. So it's nice to be able to point to something that if Balena doesn't have a base image for me, that I can point to other well-maintained community projects. So if you go and look at Bookstack's documentation on their official page, they actually reference Linux server as one of their best ways to run it in Docker. So they don't maintain it themselves. They say, go check out these guys. They do a good job. And I've got some environment variables set in here that I don't think should be changed in a normal setup. So I have not added them anywhere else to like the README or to the balena.yml file, because I believe that these should be pretty static. There's no reason you should have to change. In fact, changing these after you have the application running could break things. So these, I call them hard-coded, but it's only hard-coded in that you could override them. I just don't put it in the README because I don't think it's a good idea. Just leave these the way they are. Things like exposing where the database device is, and it's right down here. It's called MariaDB. So here's our database. Here's our database name and the user and password for just the Bookstack database, and that will get created by default on startup. And I've also added Redis, I think it's pronounced Redis, support for web caching. I'm not an expert on how this works, but I do know it's recommended to increase page load times, especially if your server is going to be used by more than one person. And it was easy enough to add that I thought other users might want it. So I popped it in there that it does use a Redis server for web access. And Bookstack's running on port 80 by default, so it's nice that we can use our web URL in that case. So there we are mounting our config volume, and the two services it depends on, MariaDB and Redis. Redis being the official Docker Hub Redis image, pinned down to a specific version so we don't accidentally inherit changes we don't want. I've gotten into the habit of that recently where using latest is never recommended, but I'm getting even more granular and pinning it to an exact version, because I did have a disaster recover scenario where I was backing everything up with Duplicati and I had a MariaDB database, but then when I spun up the application on a different device, the MariaDB version had changed and nothing would import and I couldn't recover my data. So I had to actually roll back to the MariaDB database version it was using, and that would have been much easier had I had the version in the Docker file or in the Docker Compose file. So I've gotten into the habit of when I'm specifying an image, I will say the exact version and variant. So when things break, as they invariably do, I can easily recover. And here's our Maria database setup. It's just a MySQL database, also maintained officially by Docker. And by providing these at startup, it will actually create this database for you with a user and a password, and you don't need to manually run any MySQL commands. If you provide these at first container launch, it will set up the database for you, and then by the time Bookstack is ready to connect to it, it already exists. So that's super handy to have. And again, you can change them if it's your first run. That's fine. I do not recommend changing them after the fact. It will very likely break things. Like, it won't be able to connect to your database anymore if you change the password later. It won't have any impact, except that that Bookstack will try to use the wrong password and it won't work anymore. And here's another backup utility, which I'll try to go through quickly, but it's just a small container. I added a small script, actually, I added to the official MariaDB container, and all it does is every hour it dumps your database to a file. And I find I trust this more because Duplicati taking a snapshot of an in-use database is not guaranteed to recover in the event of data loss. But if you take a dump file like this using MySQL dump, that can happen while the database is in use, and this file should always be sane. So really, when Duplicati is running, this is the snapshot that I'm more worried about keeping, because the database that's currently running, I wouldn't necessarily trust that to be recovered properly.
Cool.
Nice.
And then just down here is the Duplicati definition, where again, I've pinned it to a version. I've got the web interface set up on port 8200, and I've mounted the volumes from my different services into source, so that in Duplicati I can just say back up everything in the source directory, and I can pick my own endpoint.
And you created this Docker Compose yourself, or this is like the official Docker recipe that Bookstack has on their repos, etc.?
Bookstack app doesn't maintain their own Compose file. They still suggest that you go and look at community maintained Docker files. Okay. So they actually suggest you go to this URL and say, go try out this image. And Linux server has examples on how to use it from Docker run commands to Docker compose commands, but it's just for that one service. So like if you went to Linux service page, they would say, here's how to run it with Docker compose. And it might look kind of like this, but they would probably mount host volumes, which we can't do in this situation. We want to use Docker volumes. And they would have some other things that don't really apply in a Docker scenario. So I did make this YML from scratch. I'm getting pretty used to it. So this is, while it may seem like a lot to some new users, it's something that I've been doing long enough that I'm probably skipping over the unfortunately important part. So if you have anything else to ask about while I'm in here. All right, moving right along then.
Yeah.
So this will result in five services: Duplicati, MySQL dump, MariaDB, Redis, and Bookstack. So that's the app itself. It's been balenified. It has its volumes. It's using the correct version of Docker Compose, and there's nothing down here that wouldn't work with like a read-only host OS and some limitations on our compose structure. So let's get into the actual hubifying of things. Now that we've balenified this app, that this could be pushed to an existing app. Let's get it up on the hub, which is where it can really be discovered.
Let's get into the second step, right? You balenified your application.
Yeah.
And then let's get into creating the balena.yml.
So I had an existing YML because my README does support the. We're losing time here. Because my README does support the deploy with Balena button, I have an existing YML. But we're going to replace it with the newer version of that YML, and I'm going to copy and paste it out of the official documentation. Maybe we want to drop a link to the layout for the new YML file. I'm going to copy it right out of the docs and quickly fill it out on the fly here. And we can add. Sorry.
I was just going to say that for those uninitiated, the balena.yml file is very similar to a traditional Docker environment file. The format is different, but if you're familiar with preceding values in an environment variable file, balena.yml will do that with some extra benefits.
Actually, I shot JR is asking, hey, this is a great project. Was there a link that I missed? Yeah, if you wait for a second, you will have a link.
It's going to be in the hub in a minute.
It from the balenaHub.
Yeah.
This is why Sean actually joined silently here.
Yeah, Sean
this is what we are doing live
for
here.
exactly this. But I'm guessing, so hold on a minute. I'm going to try. I'll find it in, Kyle, in your GitHub repo in the meantime.
I'm just going to copy over this existing logo that was created for me. So just give me a second here.
I cannot see anything, just white, but it should be okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that I switched to a different workspace.
But if you want that as a logo, that should be okay. Let's see what Alexandra says on Monday. Actually, if you go to the release party number 2, I spent a couple of days making the chapter, so you can jump into chapter. And there is a really funny moment where Alan submitted his own logo. Actually, there is a chapter for that. And you can see how Alexandra helped him to have a really cool logo.
Logo is important.
Cool. Absolutely.
All right, so once I push this repo, the logo should exist at this URL if I haven't made any obvious mistakes. The main branch is called main, which we've confirmed works because that is the default in GitHub. And this is the GitHub URL right here. So we set up the 2 different assets. We might have support for more. I don't know offhand, but initially what you'll want is the repository asset, which links to your GitHub repo, and that will be, I think, associated to the read more button when it goes into the hub, which is pretty important because you want people to go and see the source code and see your README and everything like that. And the second asset I've added is the logo, which was created ahead of time, and I'm just going to add it to the repo and then include the full raw GitHub link to the repo, the branch, and logo.png. Let's see. I'm going to grab the description out of the README for now. Just Bookstacks. Oh, that's very straightforward. Maybe I should grab it off their official documentation.
we should invest another episode about the keyboards, right? What do you think?
How loud my keyboard is? Yeah.
Is it from the past?
No, it's a nice new mechanical keyboard. It's one of my favorites.
Let's keep that for the next episode.
Yeah,
right?
save it.
Yeah.
We are
it's quite
saving a lot
loud.
of things, David, for next episode.
Yeah.
All right, so we're down into the application configure variables right now, and I think we don't need an application config variable. We only have one variable that needs to be global off the start, and it's the one that I used to have in the balena.yml file. It's we want this to be set on start because that's required. The MySQL root password is required in order to initialize that bookstack database that we wanted created automatically for us. That is a pretty big requirement. So we're going to add that here. And when you deploy it, that will be available in advance as something you can customize. So we'll just say, like, I don't know what I had in there before, but this. So when you do click the deploy with Balena button in the hub, it will take you to create the application. And if you expand the advanced menu, you can then customize what the MySQL root password is at that point. Otherwise, we'll assume this default. But because we want to make sure that the automatic stuff actually happens automatically, like the creation of the database and connecting to that database, I wanted to have at least some kind of default password hard-coded here. Default device type, I'm going to say Pi3 64, and we're also going to add support for Pi 464 because those are the only two devices I've tested it on at this point. It may very well work on an Intel NUC and a Fin 3, but I think I need some more testing before I try to deploy it. In fact, I'm going to limit it to this for now.
Will it automatically update if you add those back in?
No, I did ask about that. Not yet. Not at this time. Right now, that's still a manual process. So if I do change this YML after it's been deployed to the hub, it won't be an automatic thing. We would have to contact the team to update it. There might be some automations happening there, but I think Phil's a bit more, Chris is a bit more in the loop on that than I am.
Gotcha.
All right, we are quickly running out of time, so I think I should push this up to GitHub, and we can ask Sean to give us a hand if he's available.
He's right below you.
Welcome, Sean.
But did you submit it through the website or not yet?
No, not yet. I have not done that for you.
Okay.
Okay, so git add.
Okay, you are coming now.
Yeah, the usual stuff. It's a bit hard to see my commit template here. Sorry about the keyboard sounds.
No problem.
It proves you're working, Frank.
Yeah, we know it's you typing.
All right. Version.
There was a nice note there.
Meanwhile, maybe Kyle, you do this submission. Maybe Alan, would you like to show another Balena application that you're submitting at Hub? What do you think?
Sure. I also have a project that has not yet appeared on the hub, but I've performed the part of the process that Kyle's doing right now. I already have my balena.yml file filled out, and I have the logo updated, and it's an approved logo. It's not one that I made myself. So. And it's for the Coral audio analysis project that we just recently featured on our blog. So you can find that in the blog. And so I guess at the same time, maybe we can activate mine as well when Sean is activating Kyle's.
Sean just got himself a second one to
if it's not too much trouble, there's no pressure. I mean, it's Kyle's would be the one to make sure that gets done, but mine is also ready. So as well, I've just, it's like one of the cooking shows. I've already prepared my file.
This is already in the oven and baked.
You're gonna.
Actually, Sean is like this right now.
He's ready. He's pushing some buttons.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I can follow these instructions.
I hope so too.
You have 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Well, I mean, do we have the submission template? Because I mean, I need to create an app for it, and kick off a build and stuff.
So it takes everything from that balena.yml file, and obviously, if you're submitting it, for real, we'd have a team of folks reviewing the project itself, and
I mean,
it wouldn't be instant.
No.
Just to set that expectation. So we really want to make sure that these projects work as advertised and as people expect.
Yeah, I mean, I can get started on Carl's one if I have a link to the GitHub.
I can provide a link.
Yeah, I mean, I can write it from the from the page, but
I'll send it to you.
cool.
I guess I could have put it in chat as well.
Sure. I mean, it's in the chat, actually. I think David put it in chat.
Yeah, it was up
But like
there.
some millions of messages ago.
Yeah, hang on. Let me scroll up and find it.
I mean, the other question is if we want to, we're keeping these all in the Balena Labs account for now, right? No one knows.
Yeah.
That's fraught with peril.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we had said, and that's probably the safe option for now. All right, let's create this.
So it's interesting that there is a conversation about keyboards on the chat.
Keyboards are important.
And in the
There it says it. It's keyboard sounds are important.
this is not directly related to the hub, but I put together a blog post a few months back about Dockerizing and then balenifying an app, which if you're new to that process, I think would.
Yeah, let me grab the link for that.
I just put it in there.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yep. There.
Yep. Yeah, so we will focus a lot on how to balenify your application. I think that we have to create some more documentation and help the community to balenify the applications. And then, to create the Balena.
Yeah.
demo.
Part of it, as I was thinking about it yesterday, is some of the steps are hard to generalize. You almost have to have a little bit of context and subject matter expertise, but we'll come up with a way to at least point out some things to be on the lookout for, exactly like Kyle showed at the beginning.
We'll probably extract this video and use it.
I mean, this video is the
complete with clicking keyboard.
Yeah.
It will live. It is interesting. The balena.yml file for the whole deploy with Balena and now with the balenaHub provides everything you need to seed a device and variables, which can be one of the hardest parts, right? If you're deploying something, if you're not familiar deploying things on Edge, setting up device variables, whether it's like GPU, memory, or other aspects, the balena.yml file really simplifies that and helps ensure that it'll work every time.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're meticulous like Kyle is in putting in your actual application versions. That's a best practice that everybody does, right, Kyle? Everybody puts in a precise. It's in a hurry and just puts latest. Come on, that never happens.
You'll pay for it later. You always do.
Totally. For taking that little bit of time to understand that piece. But this is also good. I went through when we launched Deploy with Balena. I went through all my applications and put a balena.yml file in just to sort of codify my device settings, which really only up at that point only lived in Balena Cloud. So if I blew away that particular application, I'd be like, what were the variables I put in there?
Exactly.
With the balena.yml, now they're always available. I never have to guess at them, and it makes redeploying an app and a device all that much easier. In fact, a lot easier.
Prior to that, if I didn't remember to put a required environment variable in my README, I would never remember to re-add it if I deployed the app again. So the README and the YML is very important for me to remember why I added certain environment variables and which ones are absolutely required.
Right. It's another best practice. But it also, because we've all pushed apps up to GitHub and have been like, what did I do to make this work? And if you haven't used environmental files or other things like that, you spend half a day reconstructing it.
Do you want to talk about the fun fact, David?
I am laughing at this. I've heard balena pronounced 3 different ways in this stream.
Let's all say it
Balena,
at the same time.
Balena. Balena. Well, it depends on where you're from. It's just simply, we are a global team. I mean, we said it at the top of the hour, and then Sean, you joined in, and he's in Barcelona. However, he's actually from South Africa. So the pronunciation just simply depends on where you're from, where you live.
Or if you're a Star Trek Voyager fan and it's Balena, like Balena Torres.
I think you guys are making fun of my Canadian accent.
No. We are approving of your Canadian accent, saying that it's one of the neat things about working here is that being a fully remote organization, it's super cool. We learn a lot about culture.
We would never do that, eh?
Thanks.
Actually, we're big Letterkenny fans, so.
Oh, good. Amazing show. My cousin's actually in that, which is amazing. I might not have heard about it otherwise, but she'll text me when she gets new show gigs, and she's like, "Make sure you watch this." And I've been hooked on Letterkenny ever since.
Yeah, for those who haven't watched Letterkenny, fantastic original Canadian television show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to show my, what's on my desk thing that y'all forced me to not show.
Sure, we don't have charity tips and tricks today, so all yours.
Now I have to find it again.
It's going to take 10 more minutes.
Like Let's see.
Sean is lost in thought.
Well, I think I've broken something.
That's good. That's okay too. I mean, that's
exactly
kind of the MO for us. I mean, you missed the what's on your desk portion where we all talked about our broken hardware that we've all killed. So
yeah, but I think I've broken Hub.
Oh, all right. Well,
all right, it's back now.
Okay.
It means there's something that's not correctly set on Carl's app, but I don't know what. It says the URL's incorrect.
Let me try the URLs. Make sure that they resolve.
Check
Which
them.
one? The image or?
Well,
The
no, I
logo
think it's.
worked.
I don't know. Maybe it's not there. Let's check it. We actually just need to see if the contract is in place. Maybe that's not there.
Okay, while you're doing that, I think have found this.
There goes next week's episode, though.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
So
Plug.
yes, but the plate around the plug, which is just the same width and it's just a little bit higher than a regular outlet, but it has these built-in LEDs at the bottom, and the plate itself has little copper tongues. So you just take the old plate off, slide this into the slot, and those copper tongues touch the live leads on the outlet, and this becomes a nightlight. So you
I love this.
totally
Wow.
free up you don't have to have a bulb thing sticking out. And this happens to be in a hallway downstairs, which is kind of narrow anyway, and you're always snagging that thing. But it also no longer takes up a port. And these are about $9 each, and they come in different shapes for different kinds of outlets.
Cool.
I think I got these at Home Depot or Lowe's.
I'm going to need a link for sure.
Yeah, although I'm a little nervous. I see myself electrocuting myself while trying to install this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they tell you to turn the power off, but
Oh no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not.
But,
then
you know,
I'm gonna
it-
have to reset my clocks. Not happening.
mounts,
They're doing it live.
mounts with a single screw. I don't know if I zoom in.
Yeah, see if you can zoom and scroll a little.
But it mounts just like a regular wall plate. And I have in my bathroom, I don't know what they call those, the decor outlets that are square.
Mhm.
But these things are pretty bright too, and I think it's 3 or 4 little LEDs at the bottom, and you can see the little dot there on the left is the light sensor, and they're nicely. They work great, and particularly like my wife likes to have these in the bathrooms, and when you have a night light in the bathroom, it's like underneath the towel rack or something like that. Not anymore with these. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that belongs in the gift guide for sure.
Yeah. I saw JR says put it in the gift guide. I guess we could update that actually. It's just a blog post. I mean, we could certainly get it added.
But this is not
Girish
that
is
sexy
asking.
as a screwdriver, right?
No, it's not, but it's still pretty handy.
Probably it's very useful, yeah.
Girish, you joined a little late, but no. No, it's not resurrected yet. There's still no eMMC on that. There should be, right in that square.
The episode where David Holder's live,
Yeah.
the
I
EMC.
don't know about that. That'll come right after I install a light socket, electric socket, or whatever that thing is, night light live with live wires.
There's that link I wanted.
Cool.
Well, what do you think, Sean? Did you break it good?
No, I mean, it breaks when I set Carl's project to publicly available, and it complains about the URL being wrong, but I don't know why that is. Let me actually just compare it to one of the other ones that we have.
I wonder if
Sure, it was something I did.
requires being in labs repo.
No, it
Couldn't
shouldn't.
be no, because Minecraft, Alex Programmer D's is in there.
Pi holes up there.
Yeah, Pi-hole's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So no, that's out.
No, I'm wondering if it's. Let's see. If compared to one of the other ones that we have that's working. Maybe it's because of I think it's Thomas's fault. All right. Give me
He's not on the stream. Good move. Wow, that was a power move right there.
That's like three digs on Tomas and one out.
He's not on the stream. Get him. Or I mean, Chris isn't here. You could blame him too. That would also be fine.
I think because basically, so he left me some notes on what just all I need to do, and in the notes he said the URL for the Git repo. He's got it as the git at github.com, like the I don't know what the SSH like git URI, and I think that's maybe why it's complaining. But we will see if I change it and it doesn't actually do anything. But hopefully that'll work. And failing that, we might have to get a real engineer.
So no worries.
Oh, Alan is frozen. I thought he was just very intently.
Yeah, reading something very concentrated.
There we go. I figured he was just hacking on something. All right.
Okay, let's give this another crack.
If not, we could always just return next week, new and improved.
Oh, there we go. Bootstack.
Oh, yeah.
Who's ready to share their screen?
Sorry?
Well, somebody ready to share their screen?
Yeah, your screen.
I can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
I can switch. I'll switch to my other window.
Yeah.
balenaHub, and then I will refresh it live. How about that?
Yeah.
Let me add it to the stream. All right, how many applications we have here? Now 12. Cool.
Bootstack.
The very first.
Right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
There it is.
Well, I'm going to submit a new one called a Bootstack. And I'll be first.
Is it alphabetical or is it by date that it's added?
I don't know the ordering.
No, because it goes balena dash scratched and pile. I'm going to submit a Bootstack.
I don't know how it's ordered.
Let's try a live quick deploy here just to make the app. I'm not going to provision a device, but takes me right to the dashboard. It populates a name for me, selects my device, and if I go into advanced, I can choose a better password for SQL, and I can go ahead and deploy.
Sweet.
It's that easy.
Are you watching this?
I'm gonna do that today because I wanna try that.
Oh, I made it as easy as I could.
What time is it where Sean is?
So that's how simple it is to install
there it is.
application.
Should we?
That's nice. You can see the two icons for the two Raspberry Pi 4 and I can't remember.
Yeah, and like I said, it probably supports more devices, but I haven't tried them, so I'm hesitant to put them on there. But
we should test.
Future.
Yeah, we should test them before they are before they're made available. And I'm wondering, I'm submitting underscore I shot JR rules right now.
And it like 2 underscores there.
Yeah, 2 underscores. I'm going 3 underscores then. Very cool. Should we push our luck and try to get Alan's Coral project while we have Sean?
I don't think
we're 15 minutes over. Oh, wait a minute.
It's not very exciting to watch me enable that stuff. I can do it offline.
No worries. All right, we proved our point. We've got the books.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Woo.
You almost broke the Alan is joining. You almost broke live.
Oh, keyword is
7 hours.
Almost.
Yeah,
we could have just turned it right into release party 3. Get the rest of the team in, get it fixed. We're good to go.
So I think we can wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a success.
Here's Tucker from
Absolutely.
Tucker Camp.
There's Tucker.
So on this episode, we show balenaHub and how to balenify plus Habify your applications to appear on this IoT Edge application marketplace, or I don't know how to call it, appstore. We have to find a cool name. So we invite all of your applications to be part of the balenaHub. So hurry, submit, and you will see Sean working to put it correct.
Last time I'm doing it.
Well, I didn't get Tomas to do it. But what I was going to say is, and I think we might be cooking up, I'm not going to make any guarantees, but we might be cooking up some sort of badges to go along with these. So if developers get their apps submitted now in the early days, perhaps we could get some kind of, some special recognition attached to them. So we'll see. We'll have to do a little brainstorming and thinking there, but it would be cool to, show off these early ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't miss that opportunity.
Yep.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No, I think that's it for us. You want to press the end button and we can all say goodbye?
Sure. So let's say goodbye. Have a good weekend. And thanks for coming.
Right.
See you next week with more balenaHub live coding applications.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.